What's going on, guys? You're watching Spec to React, your favorite channel for reviews, reactions, and theories. And today, we're going to talk about the WandaVision finale as well as give our predictions for the future of Wanda.
All right. So this was a good show overall. I found the acting to be great. Elizabeth Olsen really killed it, and so did Paul Bettany. But I do find myself being a little bit dissatisfied with the direction the show took, and especially after all the teasing that the cast did. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. I really think the cast could have done a better job of giving a more honest perspective on what the show was going to be. They didn't confirm nor deny the presence of Mephisto. They didn't really offer much information on whether Reed Richards would be the aerospace engineer. It's clear they wanted the cast, sorry, it's clear they wanted the audience to speculate on these things, but there was no payoff.
Yeah, and what it ended up doing is polarizing the base. And now, half the people are like, we're gonna riot if Elizabeth Olsen doesn't get an Emmy. And although she does deserve it, I understand that point of view. But then the other side is like, this show was complete garbage because it didn't pay off any of the stuff it had been saying. And I understand that point of view too. Like to quote my main man Thanos, I guess we just need some more balance in the world right now because it's two sides of like two opinions where both can't be right. I think there is a way to appreciate the art that was this show and still understand that you can't just tease the way they did. This is not marketing. They knew exactly what they were doing with these teasers.
You know, I think Thor Skywalker said it best. Leave subverting expectations to another franchise. Right? This is not the place to set fans' hopes high and then suddenly give them the opposite of what they were hoping for. That's not
Yeah,
Marvel.
it's not. And Marvel is about speculation. There are people whose careers have been made on just finding details. Like think about it, that throwaway line from Age of Ultron where Tony says, that's the end game. That turned out to be the title of Avengers 4. Like Marvel is about those nitpicky little details that turn out to be a lot more than just those little like throwaway lines. So let's just count those down. Mephisto was teased not once, not twice, but three different times in the show
Yep.
itself. Outside the show, Elizabeth Olsen said that we are going to get a Luke Skywalker level cameo. And don't tell me it was Scarlet Witch. I mean, as much as I like to see Scarlet Witch, it was something that we already knew. And we celebrated because it was the first time it was said out loud. And I liked the fact that she became Scarlet Witch by the end of it. But
The
let's not
costume was
pretend
great
that's
too,
new.
right?
Yeah, the costume was great. But let's not pretend that's new material. We knew this. And
Exactly.
after that, Paul Bettany says, "I'm gonna have fireworks with this actor. I've always wanted to work with him." And I'm not mad at Paul Bettany because he went and then he apologized about that on GMA, which I covered in the previous video. But he also then left it wide open for Quicksilver and Mephisto to come in, and Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and he didn't confirm nor deny whether Mephisto would be in the show. Now, my perspective on this show, I'm not going to pull any punches here. I don't think it was entirely my cup of tea from an artistic standpoint, from a cinematic standpoint, and from an MCU standpoint. With that being said, there were some things I enjoyed. For example, the cinematography and the visual presentation of the show that was just top notch. Every frame really meant something in the context of the show, but at the same time, the plot was clawed with a lot of filler that didn't really have a lot of payoff.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Other than that, I did like some of the dialogue here and there. I really appreciated the end battle. The end battle was one of my favorite things in the
100%.
show. Vision versus Vision was great. I liked how they killed Vision, had Wanda get sad about Vision's death, but also in typical MCU fashion, allowed Vision to stay alive. So when they need him again, they can always call on him because White Vision disappeared somewhere that we don't know right now.
No, but also like, how much is this dude gonna die? Like, he's died like what 3 times already, right?
I mean, he's going for Loki and Doctor Strange's crown for most deaths in the MCU.
Yeah, good point.
Other than that, yeah, just allow me to do some more like ranting on how Quicksilver, you got Evan Peters for crying out loud. You made the entire fan base go absolutely bonkers for a whole like however not like 9 weeks. People were just like, "Oh my God, Quicksilver," and you killed it for a boner joke. For
Exactly.
and it wasn't even that funny. Like I saw it and it was just like, your name is Ralph Boner, and it's like, oh no, they didn't just do that. Please God, don't tell me they just did that.
I think Marvel is a franchise that's known for its very intelligent and unique jokes. So for them to kind of stoop to that level is very disappointing.
Yeah, for a boner joke, that was just like extremely disappointing because everyone had their bets on, if nothing else, we're just happy that they brought Quicksilver in, and this can mean more mutants and more, X-Men universe coming in, and all that speculation went to shit.
Yeah, but we are at the same time a positive channel, and as far as speculation goes, there is some good news because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to be rife with crazy and wild stuff. Multiverse, right? I think
It
a
has
lot
to
of our
be.
speculation for WandaVision might be realized in that show.
I hope so because I've been saying since day one that Elizabeth Olsen is going to be the villain as Wanda, the villain of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, the only thing about that is that at the end of the post-credit scenes of WandaVision, she did look like she was reading that Darkhold, and she was getting a little. It gave me a little bit of villain vibes, so I'm really feeling like that theory is rock solid.
Yeah, and at the same time, her kids were like screaming to help them. So maybe Wanda's going to try to maybe get back her kids,
Yeah,
and that will cause some multiverse problems, and Strange will have to step in to sort that out.
hopefully. Can we talk about the aerospace engineer?
For sure. When I hear aerospace engineer, the first thing I think of in Marvel, at least, is Reed Richards. So, for them to make that a side character, and then for Tiana Paris to say she was excited to see people's reaction to who the aerospace engineer was, that was just, why would you do that?
Yeah, I keep saying they knew what they were doing, and that's another example of it. The aerospace engineer. I think that one is the one I can excuse as completely fan generated. Yet it was like there was a whole scene with Monica holding her phone and like, "Ooh, I'm gonna text this aerospace engineer," and we didn't even notice that that person was there, and we didn't even realize that we had seen the aerospace engineer cameo till people started confirming it later on.
Yeah, and one of her commentators on the previous video had noted that the reason why the show is in a kind of weekly format is because Feige wanted the fans to speculate.
Yeah, I saw that comment actually because someone else had said that we hyped ourselves up, and I said, not really, not really. We didn't hype
Yeah.
ourselves up. They, when you're a person who works on a show, right? You're in a position to drive speculation. Now, if there's nothing to be paid off, I think just don't drive it. Don't drive the fans to think all these things like, oh my God, there's a Luke Skywalker level cameo. Who could it be? 8 weeks of us just speculating about who is it gonna be because you said it, not
Well,
because.
to be fair, the Luke Skywalker level cameo that wasn't Lizzie Olsen's words. That was the interviewer's words, and she said that there is going to be a big cameo that hasn't leaked yet. But at the same time, the fact that she was saying this and Paul Bettany was saying this, that really implied that there really was going to be a cameo like this.
Yeah, and then I didn't see one. But whatever, I'm over it. I'm not gonna like hold it against Marvel. I definitely think that this show, that definitely lost points in my eyes just because of that. And despite the brilliant like acting from both of them, and they're really lucky. Honestly, they're really lucky that Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen were leading that, including you know um, everybody else that was on the show. Just they're really lucky that these people were a part of it because otherwise the
For
show
sure.
would have been a complete failure. And I think the acting really took it to a point, and the visual effects really took it to a point where it was like watchable.
This show was not a complete failure. It was very fun to watch. It was enjoyable.
Hmm.
At least some of the episodes were. But I just want to say something about speculation in general. A lot of people in this community are frowning on fan theories and speculation. And first of all, there's precedent for these kinds of things. The Cap Hammer, right? That was in the comics. All this stuff with Mephisto, that was also in the comics. So for us to go out and make these predictions based on previously established lore isn't that much of a stretch. And also, right, it's what Marvel does. Marvel takes these crazy things from the comics and puts them in the movies.
No, yeah, Mephisto, and just I know we're talking about Mephisto way too much, but that's been the constant thing. Like if you go on YouTube and you type in Mephisto, this character has been revitalized through YouTube itself. Um, However, like the Mephisto thing is like it's in the comics, it's so clear, and that poster that they leaked, Mephisto is clearly in the back of that. So
And also the pillar, right?
the pillar, and like I said, there was that whole line about the devil is in the details, and that's not all that. That's not the only place he's in. Like all that stuff, just pointed at Mephisto, and I can't believe they didn't. I'm really like disappointed that they didn't pay that off. We did see a villain though, Catherine Hahn's Agatha Harkness, which I'm gonna be honest, I think that Agatha All Along song, as catchy as it wasn't the truth. It was Wanda
It
all
wasn't the
along,
truth. Yeah, and also another villain was Director Hayward, and I
who
thought
wasn't
Hayward
really a
was,
villain.
yeah, he seemed nuanced initially, but then he pulled out the pistols on the kids, right?
They had to do certain things to turn him into a villain though, because otherwise how was this guy going to be a villain in the first place? He wasn't. He was trying to liberate a town that Wanda had enslaved. I think this entire, show could have been avoided if Wanda had just created her little, hex magic, her little Westview town thing. If she just limited that to her house, it would have cost her less magic. It would have had to, like, she would have had to do less work, and it would have just surrounded her house, and that's it. Nobody would have
I
had to
think
be enslaved.
from that angle, Hayward is a hero, but at the same time, he did some pretty unforgivable things in this show. He was an incompetent leader.
Again, they had to do these things to turn him into a villain, because otherwise he would be kind of the guy who was like releasing an enslaved population in Westview that was described by the show as in a state of agony. So like,
Yeah, everyone
you
would be
know,
rooting for Hayward then, right?
exactly. And we love Wanda, so we want Wanda to win. So we kind of you had to turn that guy into a villain.
And also, like, I wasn't really getting much nuance from Catherine Hahn's character. That it was almost comical how
Quickly she
malevolent they
lost.
made her. Yeah,
Yeah, it was. I can't. I don't care about her character as a villain, and Wanda is a much better villain than Catherine Hahn's character was. I'm sure they're gonna improve on her because there was like a little, hopefully the throwaway line thing stops with WandaVision, but there was a whole thing about her like not if I see you first and all that when Wanda trapped her as the nosy neighbor. I do feel like Wanda's gonna come back to her at some point, or she's gonna come back because in the comics they do that a lot, where Agatha Harkness is helping Wanda out at certain points.
so we know that Jack Schaefer had worked with the director of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi, to make sure there is some cohesiveness between those stories.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm kind of hoping that they add stuff rather than just worry about the cohesiveness.
Yeah, me too. Now, here's my question for you: do you think elements from this show will be referenced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I highly doubt it. I think this might be like it's maybe like a throwaway line or something. Seriously, like maybe just a little bit, just to talk about what's going on over there. But I don't think there's gonna be much relation to this show at all.
Yeah, me neither. And but I do hope that this show is seen in a better light in the future. And I hope that the fan base will get a piece of content that they can unanimously agree is good later on.
Yeah, I don't think I think there just needs to be like a moderate thing here. Even like you can appreciate the fact that this show was great, but you can also realize that the cast is wrong for doing all these like teasing things, and then later on we should talk about the actual stuff that happened in the post-credit scenes and what's getting set up. We did touch on for a moment that Wanda is going to become the villain, and she was looking very villainous in that last scene, reading the Darkhold. But there was also another scene that looks like it's going to build upon Captain Marvel 2 and Secret Invasion, which was when Monica Rambeau's character got a visit from the Skrull.
Yes.
And clearly talking about Nick Fury, a friend of your mother would be Nick Fury, and Nick Fury wants you to come work up in that satellite thing we saw in Spider-Man: Far From Home at the end.
Yeah, the Skrull Mothership, which, I'm curious to see what role, I guess, Photon will play in that storyline. And I really wanted to see more for Powers. I was really disappointed that we only got, a few seconds of that in the finale, as well as, Darcy only having one line, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
it was something crazy. Like it was really really short. It was like see you and have fun in jail or something. I don't even remember. It was a
Yeah.
really wasted line from her.
They could have done a lot more with the characters. They could have done a lot more, with developing the nuance of both the heroes and the villains. It would have been a really, really interesting thing to explore the fact that Hayward doesn't feel he's doing anything wrong because these kids, on the surface, they aren't real. they're just a figment of Wanda's mind, right? That
The
would have been an ethical
kids,
dilemma.
I do have a thing about the kids though. What was Wanda trying to say at the end when she was like, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mother"? What was that about? I don't understand that at all. Like I'm very curious to see how that ends up.
I don't know if that was like a reference to like the Soul movie or something like that. Like what?
I don't know. But however that is, I hope that Wiccan and Speed make a return. Those kids are super talented and it's hard to find kid actors that are that good.
Those guys knocked it out of the park. So shout out to
Hmm.
them.
Shout out to them, absolutely. And again, that whole Wanda's. This is all for Wanda's, therapy of losing Vision, and I get it. At the same time, Vision at the end isn't dead. The White Vision running around with all of Vision's previous memories, probably including that love for Wanda, is just out there.
So when you
So
realize your vision, why do you run off? Right? Why don't you help your wife?
I
Or
don't
they're
know.
not wife, but partner at this point, right? Because
Well, yeah, because the other one was, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just like confusion and just like now that you're Vision, you want to go back to the Avengers compound probably. I'm sure they're gonna bring him back. They're not gonna waste Paul Bettany's character. Plus, Paul Bettany's doing a great job as him, so I would really hope that they're not gonna waste it.
all right, so those were our thoughts about the WandaVision finale. What were yours? Leave them in the comments and we'll have a conversation about it. Until then, see you next time.